Hello.
Hello out there.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Mystery Files.
To the Mystery Files. We didn't die.
We didn't die. It's been a minute.
No one's dead.
We've been close a couple times. But we lived. I almost said sacrificed. We didn't sacrifice anything. Everything is still living. We didn't sacrifice anything. We're not in a cult.
We sacrificed a follower of the podcast.
Who is it? Who's next?
You guess. Look at the comments below.
In the comments below, who do you think is going to be sacrificed in the next episode? Teehee.
But yeah, we took a little bit of a hiatus, basically, without telling anybody.
Yeah, we didn't mean to. We tried, but the universe went, here's a trip. Here's another trip. Here's COVID. Here's an eye infection. Here's life.
Here's moving.
New
York City.
Here's New York City. Here's Washington, D.C. All of the above.
Literally.
We've been out and about exploring the world and ourselves.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
This has been, I think, my busiest summer in a while.
It's been hopping.
Crazy.
It's been hopping. You've been a busy bee.
Yeah, because I had Pride.
You had Pride?
My birthday. And then I went to New York at the end of June. In July, I was getting ready to move. Mm-hmm. And now I'm moved. Now. But the good news is about the move is...
Logan's so close now.
We're
literally
neighbors.
Walking distance. We're basically neighbors. Which means we can mess with each other now. Mm-hmm. Man, I wish I could ding-dong ditch you, but you live in like a building. But
I can't do it to you either.
I can find your window and throw rocks at it.
Honestly,
Cute.
you could. It's great.
I know.
Not to dox you, but it's so funny that your window to your apartment is like right on like that corner, and like you can see in. Like every time
that freaks me out a little.
I drive or walk past here, I'm like, Tiffany's on there.
I think about it sometimes. Now that I know they live in the neighborhood, I'm like, what if Logan just walked past? So if I like hear someone yelling outside, I'm like, what if that's Logan yelling at me on the street? So,
modern Romeo and Juliet style.
I love it. I love love. But yes, we are so excited to be living closer together.
Yeah.
For our friendship and for our show. So it's going to be so fun. It's going to be great.
I said this before we started, but it was crazy that I was just as sweaty getting here because of how hot it is outside than I was before. Because I don't think I've ever talked about the commute on the show that I had to do to get here before.
Hike.
It was a hike, guys. It'd be about an hour to get here. I'd have to... Because I don't drive.
Mm-hmm.
Neither
of us do. I hate driving. I don't have a license. We don't have a license either. Who needs a license these days? We make it. You made it.
Yeah. Well, it's like up the hill, down the hill. Took a bus. Took that bus here.
You were like the live-action Grinch. You know how like there's that little map of like the trash chute thing up to his mountain?
Yeah.
That was basically Logan. Like... The people who know the live-action Grinch know what I'm talking about. But yes.
It's so nice because it's now just a 20-minute flat walk.
But
today's been the hottest day
Today's just a sticky day. Sticky, icky day at the end of the summer. So,
yes.
Now we're thriving.
But we're back with more mysteries and hopefully more social media. Please don't forget about us.
Yeah, don't forget. We're still here. We're just living our best lives. We're trying out here.
We're kicking.
And tonight we'll have a fun episode. Don't you fret.
Yes, we are on season and episode. Who cares?
We're somewhere in there.
We're where?
We'll give it a glance. We don't really have a summer tapes this summer.
I was going to mention that. Summer tapes just did not happen.
Yeah, and that's okay. My friends, we are out here doing our best. We're going to just put out stuff that makes us happy. So just follow along for our journey. Maybe next summer. Maybe we can focus on the fall. On some
we could do it in the winter.
On the winter tapes.
Ooh, that
might be kind of iconic. Why does that sound amazing?
The winter tapes?
The winter... Ooh. That sounds freaky.
We'll let you guys know.
Okay, yeah, keep following. We'll put out some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But today's going to be great.
It's you.
Because,
you're up to bat.
Yes, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but there was an episode I talked about doing quite a bit ago.
Yeah.
But back when I was trying to do it initially, trying to plan for it, I couldn't find enough information. Mm-hmm. But this time, I found it, and I've had to limit what I found.
Really?
Because I feel like there's a lot to go through.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I tried to narrow it down the best I can.
That's crazy. How you just didn't see it and then it just all came out.
I think I just wasn't looking through the right search engines.
That's fair.
Because
sometimes you'll be Googling.
You look for something and you can't see anything. You go on Reddit. They send you down these wormholes. And thank you, Reddit. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Reddit. No, it's not. But yes.
So, should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Oh my god, it's been so long. I'm so excited.
Okay. This week on the Mystery Files podcast, I present the case of the Legend of Giants.
Ooh!
I know.
Wait, You did talk about this before.
Yes.
It might have been the last episode.
I feel like maybe it was. Because I really want to talk about giants. Because I keep seeing, like, tiny clips on TikTok of, like...
About giants?
About giants. Or, like, people posting those weird, like, creepy AI videos of, like, giants. And they freak me out. Like, especially late at night. They'll have, like, the sounds with the giants. And it's scary.
Stop.
What?
That's scary. I don't think that's the same sound, but have you heard the one that's, like, oh, matey.
Oh, yo.
Yes!
Yeah, with like
it's
the
like
oceans.
with like pirates and stuff.
Yes, that one
like,
freaks me out.
They take over cruise ships and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I hate it.
Some of them seem fake, but others of them I'm like,
they'll get me, or the deep sea monsters. I'm like, sure, I'll believe in it. Literally. But I feel like this case, we'll see how you feel. And I would like to have a disclaimer.
Okay.
That before I started working on this episode, I also wanted to tell you a dream thing I had, a sleep paralysis situation that inspired me to like look back for giants.
It was a message calling you?
It was a sleep paralysis situation.
Oh my god.
Recently, that I thought someone broke into my apartment because in the middle of the night, I woke up. I'm laying in my bed, as one does when they're asleep. I look up, and I kid you not, I see this like Hagrid, Jason Momoa looking figure. This person, literally, I see the outline of, like, long, like, wavy, Hagrid-y looking hair, and, like, I don't see any facial features. This thing is, like, up to my ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, big, bulky, like, huge-looking person, no face.
Oh my, no face?
No face. It was just all
But he got the Hagrid hair on.
But I saw, like, the hair in the outline, and I saw, like, chains coming off of, like, the body. And this thing was staring at me in my bed. And I remember, like, the thing is, I don't know if I was awake or asleep because I remember, like, trying to be like, Benjamin, I think someone broke into the apartment. Like, I kept trying to, like, tell him because I genuinely thought someone was in my...
Like, you thought it was real.
Like, I thought someone was in the apartment. I was like, oh my god, did I keep the door unlocked? Like, I was freaking out. And so eventually I keep going, Benjamin, there's someone in the apartment. Like, someone's in here. And then, like, I look and whatever it was gone. And then somehow I went back to sleep after that. I don't know why I didn't wake Benjamin up, but I think I was just so relieved no one broke into the apartment that I was like, okay, tee-hee.
So that's what made you think to look back into giants, you said?
Yeah, just because I was like, ooh, big figure in my room? That was weird. Hagrid's kind of a giant. And then went down that whole rabbit hole. But yeah, so that happened recently. And I was very afraid because I think maybe the last episode or the episode before that I said I had a different sleep paralysis with those two figures in my room. So, update, it's still happening after I used the Florida water to cleanse my bedroom. So, I think I need to do it again.
Really?
Again.
You gotta go again.
But I'm like...
You need to get a spray bottle of
I need to get a priest. That's what I need. I don't need Florida water. I need a priest up in here to start cleansing something because I can't have no haggard-looking men in my bedroom staring at me while I'm trying to sleep.
You need to start charging crystals.
Someone teach me. Someone come over, help me charge them with me. To make my house not scary.
That's scary.
But yeah, so giants. That's our case. That's my inspiration. You ready to get into it?
Wait, no, I was going to say.
Yeah.
This is the only thing I was going to say is like, I love that you said it's Jason Momoa and Hagrid put together. Because those are two very different categories of people. But when you said it, they make perfect sense.
The thing is, because...
It's like a Venn diagram.
Yeah. This figure is as big and like wide as Hagrid, but like as like gruff and like buff looking as Jason Momoa.
Like I got exactly what you were trying to go for.
Yes.
It just felt
like
wrong.
Hagrid if he was buff. You know what I mean? So that's kind of
hot. Hotter than he already is.
I wouldn't say that either of them.
You follow your heart. Momoa's hot.
No. That man's too big.
Maybe put them together.
He's too
It's true.
I just think anytime I see muscles like that, I just think of Scrappy Doo getting all with like the veins coming out of the muscles. That's exactly what it reminds me of, and I'm like,
that's too good.
It's a no for me.
Okay.
But yeah, Scrappy Doo. Let's get into it. Okay. Let's pull up my laptop. And now you can look at it.
Well, that's a lock screen.
Well, now you can see what my thing's called. Legend of Giants. Okay. Let's roll into the intro.
Ooh, okay.
So, mythical giants are powerful, enormous humanoid beings. And no, I don't mean people who have genetic gigantism. So it's different. So not just tall people.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about an unrecognized race of giant humans. So before we get into it a little more, I just want to tell you that the tallest human being found on record was someone from 1918. His name was Robert Wadlow. And that man was 8'11". So that's the tallest recorded human being. right?
8'11"?
8'11". So we're talking about people who aren't 8'11". So if you're out there and you're
Taller
about 7 foot, we're not. This episode isn't about you.
This isn't about you.
Good for you for being tall. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
But we're talking about giants.
Text
giants. Me. Text Logan. Do your thing. I don't care. Follow your heart. So, these giants appear in legends, myths, and folklore from all over the world. There are mighty Celtic giants like Cormoran and Gogmagog, and there are ginormous giants from Central Africa. There are awe-inspiring Australian giants like Crooked Mick, whose many incredible skills included kicking a crocodile to the moon and baking pies so light that a gust of wind could carry them away.
Wait, baking pies so light a gust of wind can carry them away?
Yeah.
How do you kick a crocodile to the moon?
He kicked a crocodile to the moon. That because he's big like that. He's strong like that.
He could start a pie delivery service where he puts
Kiki's delivery service, but it's giants. That'd be cute, right?
He gives the pie to the alligator and he kicks it.
He goes, "Take it away, kid." It's delivery to the moon. It's
a
just
messenger
DoorDash.
pigeon.
It's DoorDash to the moon. He's just kicking pies, that guy, and crocodiles.
That's insane.
There are also gargantuan ancient Greek giants like Pallas, whose skin was used as a shield by Athena during the cosmic battle between giants and the Greek gods. Mm-hmm. There are even tales of modern-day giants who have been sighted as recently as 23. But more on that later.
Wait, 23 what?
2023? As recent as 2023. What? So, like, not like, oh, these are all olden-tale giant stories. Like, there's some recent ones.
Ooh.
But first, we're going to talk about some of the old.
Yeah.
So, like, you have a little bit of, like, timeline here.
Of course.
But don't you fret. We will get into the modern-day ones because I know you're waiting for those. So, let's talk about the origins first. Mm-hmm. So, authors and filmmakers have often been keen to include giants in their storytelling. Giants feature in traditional fairy tales like Jack and the Beanstalk and The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. Their appearance in books on film ranges from Harry Potter series to Roald Dahl's BFG, Big Friendly Giant. Love that book, love that movie. But we're not
like big. No.
Wrong. But we're not here to talk about kind and gentle, dream-catching little big giants. We are here to talk about the scary ones, the ones we definitely wouldn't want to meet alone on a dark night, or in my bedroom, or at any other time for that matter. So let's look at our top 5 terrifying giants. There's 5 that are pretty freaky. The first one, you might recognize, name is Grendel, if you know Beowulf.
Oh, Grendel!
Yeah, Grendel.
Oh my god. Did you have to read Beowulf?
Yes, and I've also made a Beowulf movie.
You did make a Beowulf movie!
I'll have to, like, put a little clip in this because it's quite funny. I played so many characters.
So funny.
And I'm eating, we've talked about it before, me eating chicken wings, like Beowulf, and yeah, it was funny.
Wait, was that not a class project?
It was a class project.
It was? That's so
funny. And I made a movie. I was, like, the only one that made a movie for that class. So Grendel is a monstrous giant from the epic poem Beowulf, which was written in Old English by an unknown author sometime between 700 and 750 CE. In the text, he is described as a creature of darkness, exiled from happiness and accursed of God, the destroyer and devourer of humankind. Sounds scary to me. But Grendel isn't just evil, he's also stubborn. Every night he attacks King Hrothgar's mead hall and kills his soldiers. Beowulf is the only man who can successfully engage Grendel in combat. He rips off the giant's arms, only to come face to face with the wrath of Grendel's mom later in the story. Grendel's mother isn't described as a giant, according to the text. Otherwise, she'd be number 1 on this list. So, that's...
Wait, they never described what his mom was like?
I don't think so. Or at least,
that's crazy.
She wasn't described as a giant in it. So, it's hard to say, like, if she was, like...
She's just a caring mother?
She's just a caring...
ready to kill.
I don't know how caring she was, but she was a mother. She was a mother, in fact, but we don't know if she was a giant, so she's not on our list. The second one, let's see if I say this correctly. In Norse folklore, Jotnar... or Jotnar, are the large and powerful giants who live on their own in dark, cold, and barren land. They are the enemies of Norse gods like Odin, Thor, and Freya, and are often in conflict with them, and some regarded as fire or frost giants.
Ooh.
I know. And while they have supernatural powers, they also have common flaws like greed, jealousy, and vanity. So,
This is so, like, nerdy to bring up, but I'm watching Yu-Gi-Oh! GX right now.
Fun.
The anime, the 4Kids dub, because it's insane.
Ooh.
And I was talking to Danny about this because he thought they were cool.
Yeah.
They have, like, these, like, monarchs in them that are just, like, giants. And they have, like, elements like that. So it'll be, like, ice or, like, fire or lightning and stuff.
Do you think it's inspired by, like, Norse mythology,
I think so. That's why, like, I was surprised to, like, hear that. Like, I had a feeling it was based off something because that's all, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Like, any card game ever. Yeah, like, they have some
folklore behind it.
It's based off something. But that's cool. I didn't know it was probably based off, like, Nordic lore.
That's so cool. Now I'm going to have to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, I watched it a little bit growing up, but I know you have extended knowledge of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise and how to play and all that stuff. So, hey, you're like, the next one is the Cyclops. You probably recognize this name. The Cyclops were a fearsome race of giants. Their singular, powerful eye glared from the center of their forehead, striking fear into the hearts of all who saw them. Unlike their monstrous kin, the three Cyclopes, Argus, Brontes, and Steropes,
Huey, Dewey, and Louie were immortal giants. Revered for their forging skills, there are several Cyclops in Greek mythology, and I think it's safe to say that none of them are particularly friendly. So the most famous Cyclops is Polyphemus, a man-eating Cyclops who features in Homer's story, The Odyssey. So we got some old literature up in here. We've got Beowulf and The Odyssey. And after causing... And Beowulf's older than The Odyssey, so that's crazy.
It is. So, stuff... Is it?
No.
I was like, hold up. You had me for a whole second. I was like, okay, I guess I'm wrong. I was about to... I'd follow you into fire. I go, okay, Logan, tee-hee-hee. Tell me more. You had me. So after causing... Watch him out. Watch him out. After causing havoc amongst his men, he is eventually killed by the hero Odysseus?
Yeah, Odysseus.
Odysseus?
Yeah.
Who can then make his escape. The next one, which I think this is so fun, is called the Japanese Oni.
I know the Oni.
Yes.
We talked about on the yokai episode.
Yes, we did.
Very briefly, because they covered a lot. But
so
yay!
We'll cover this briefly as well, but...
I'm excited.
We love the Japanese folklore up in here.
Yeah, I love the Oni.
Yes, so the Oni are demons, ogres, or trolls. They form an important part of Japanese folklore, though they may have originated in China. The Oni are giant demonic figures, often shown with horns, sharp claws, fangs, and tusks. They may be given a third eye, extra fingers or toes, and usually carry a large club as a weapon, all the better for smushing people with. Mainly colored pink, red, or blue-gray, they often turn up as the villains in Japanese fairy tales. They also feature in art, literature, and theater, where characters playing them wear frightening and colorful masks. All of these giants were prevalent in history and throughout different cultures. Giants were super prevalent in other places in ancient Greece as well. So we're going to talk about the Greek giants in a second. But, yeah, I feel like this Japanese Oni are so cool.
Do you ever think about how, you know how, like, when you try to give a prompt to AI, like, a picture, it sometimes, like, puts extra fingers or, like things in it?
Yes.
What if someone's taken a picture of an Oni before and has tried to post it and then, like...
And they go, haha, it's just AI.
This is AI.
This is
Stop
just
trying
AI.
to fool us. And this person's like, no, stop.
Well, that's the thing with AI now. Like, there's no way for us to know if something's actually real or just generated. It's the same with, like, if people were to post pictures of, like, a giant or something like that, you'd be like, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that's real.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like, what if someone has a picture of the Oni and they're just like...
Yes.
No one knows.
They're like, oh, pink thing with, like, sharp teeth and claws and all that stuff.
They have a 6th finger, so...
So I can tell it's fake. I can tell it's wrong. But yeah, so that's the Oni. Next, we're going to get into a little bit about Greek giants, because there's a lot about the Greek giants. So we're going to do a little section on that, and then we're going to move on. But I want to give you some of the backstory.
I mean, there's a lot of Greek giants.
There is a ton. So we're going to go into a little bit. So I want to start the Greek giant section by first giving a quote by an ancient Greek historian.
Me.
So, you. Logan once said, before there were any humans on Pallene, the story goes that a battle was fought between the gods and the giants. Traces of the giants' demise continue to be seen to this day. Whenever torrents swell with rain and excessive water breaks their banks and floods the fields, they say that even now, in gullies and ravines, the people discover bones of immeasurable enormity, like men's carcasses, but far bigger. Ooh. So they found, like, these bones that were, like, ginormous and, like, resemble, like, human men's bodies.
Well, I guess that's so weird. So I guess that makes sense, because, like, I think I remember watching some type of, like, I don't know if he's in here or not. Goliath. Bible.
I didn't really bring him up much, but there is a whole biblical aspect that I don't get into on this episode, but there are a lot of biblical things.
Did you ever watch those, like, science episodes when they were saying stuff like that? Like, those old, like, Bible TV shows? They'd be like, we found these giant bones. Yeah. That's Goliath.
That's Goliath. That's David and Goliath. No.
Isn't that crazy?
There's a ton. Like, that could be its own episode in itself, biblical giants, because I was going to go into it, but then I don't know how I'd get myself out of it, because there was a lot.
Really? It was just like a rabbit hole. I guess, the Bible has a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just said, and I said, like, the whole, there's so many Christian science shows that would be on Discovery Channel that talked about those.
And, like, we've talked about before, like, how many different, like, cases we've talked about do have some origins biblically. So I feel like the Bible itself,
oh my God,
that would be like a hard topic to delve into because of different viewpoints. But like, there's
it's
so
also
much.
Long.
It's
also long as hell.
You could pick one story and be like, okay, the mystery is the Bible, the human race. Yeah,
we could tune in for we read Genesis. It's a 3-hour episode.
Stop it! That's so funny. It'd be a whole rabbit hole for real. There's so many mysteries in there. So, we're going to talk about some gigantic bones, since we talked about those human carcasses in Greece. So, the ancient Greeks told stories of giants, describing them as flesh and blood creatures who lived and died, and whose bones could be found coming out of the ground where they were buried long ago. Indeed, even today, large and surprisingly human-like bones can be found in Greece. Modern scientists understand such bones to be the remains of mammoths, mastodons, and woolly rhinoceroses that once lived in the region. But ancient Greeks were largely unfamiliar with these massive animals, and many believed that the enormous bones they found were the remains of human-like giants. So any non-human traits in the bones were thought to be due to the grotesque anatomical features that were on the giants. So they think that, like, these people back then genuinely thought these were bones to, like, ginormous humans. Or, like, a race of humans. Because they were unfamiliar with the idea of these massive animals. Like, they didn't think it came from, like, mammoths or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Because, like, if you really think about it, like, what we know about prehistoric times is still, like, relatively new information.
Yeah.
Like, at least in, like, the last, like, 200 years? Maybe? So that's, like, crazy.
And we even talked about this before in the, what was it? The dragon episode.
Yeah.
Because they would find all those bones and they were like, I don't know, was it dinosaurs? Was it dragons? Like, there were so many different things. Because it's basically a puzzle when they're finding those bones most of the time. It's like, okay, well, what can it create?
Well, I know that even now they still, like, will, like, put, like, dinosaurs together and they'll be like, oh, actually that femur we put on it, that's a completely different dinosaur.
That's a whole part of the body. Or, like, they had guesses that, like, what was it? Like, we picture dinosaurs as being, like, scaly, but some are like, actually, they had feathers, or actually, they had fur. Like, there's so many different things that makes you see it so different.
I love, there's, like, this viral picture that's like, you know, no one says the dinosaurs weren't really super colorful, so someone made a dinosaur that had, like, rainbow feathers, like a T-Rex.
Ew, that's freaky.
They're like, we don't really know if they had color or not.
We don't really know.
It's, like, so funny.
That's cute.
That's crazy,
it's
though.
It's like a little kid colored it in.
Oh, that makes so much sense, though. Like, why it's in so much Greek mythology lore, too. Like, girl, they found some mammoth bones and said, that is a giant.
They were like, I don't think that makes sense. And I'm like, well, back then, I feel like any sort of big thing, we talked about it before, like, could have been anything to them. Because they're like, what are these huge bones? Yeah. So, that's what they would think they were.
You'd show them a VCR and they'd be freaking out.
They'd be like,
Stop, wait. What? Have you heard about the ancient the first ever automatic door in ancient Greece?
No.
Okay, I don't know much about this other than, like, what I just said, but basically there is this library in ancient Greece where they were underneath it. There was, like, this fire and, like, an extinguisher that compressed the air, and it opened up the doors of this library. So it was the first ever, like, automatic door.
That's weird.
Isn't that crazy?
Ew. I feel like they're time travelers or something. That freaked me out, I think.
I don't remember the name of it or something, but it was so cool. I think they stopped doing it because it was just, like, so... It was too much. Yeah. Like, it's, like, so much power just to open doors by themselves. Yeah. But it was really cool.
We're going to get into, like, something similar to that later. Ooh. Because it's, like, how could they create such things at a certain time? So,
Ooh!
Remind me if it's going to be in here, but
okay.
This is a little teaser for a little bit because it's crazy.
Let's go.
So, at a glance, some more about giants. So, from Paul Bunyan of American folklore to the Norse creator god Ymir, humans, like giants, populate the myths of many cultures. So, the long bones of elephant relatives and humans are similar enough to be confused. Geologic events tend to destroy the skulls of prehistoric elephant relatives, leaving only enormous human-like long bones, ribs, and vertebrae. So ancient authors often reported finding the remains of giants hundreds of feet tall, much bigger than an elephant or any other animal. These reports may represent attempts to reconstruct the bones of several animals found jumbled together as a single giant.
Genius.
So, going off that, the battle with the gods. According to the Greek myth, the giants were the children of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia. I knew... When I was typing this, Logan, I was like, I'm going to have issues getting through this section because Logan's going to laugh at all of this.
At what?
This whole little chunk right here.
Laugh at what?
I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to read it, and if you figure out what it is, good for you. But I know this whole section, the way it's all phrased, you're going to laugh at it. Okay. So I'm going to start again. According to Greek myth, the giants were the children of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. Shut your mouth. But were almost never born. Logan LaMaster gets some actual help. So, hold for Logan. The silly goose egg. I don't know how I'm going to get through this section.
I'll behave.
It gets worse than that.
It gets worse?
It gets worse phrasing-wise, and there's no way around it. So you're going to have to adjust real quick.
I can't believe this is going to be on video. I'm so happy. Okay, I'm ready.
So I'm going to say, the giants were the children of the sky and Gaia the earth, but were almost never born. Afraid the giants would be too powerful, the sky would not allow them to be born, imprisoning them in Gaia's womb. Uncomfortable, Gaia convinced her older son Kronos to attack the sky.
Is crazy.
He did. The sky. He did, and the blood that spilled on Gaia released the giants from their prison. So Kronos took power, but was soon overthrown by the god Zeus. The giants were enraged by the defeat of their savior and brother, and they took up trees as clubs and boulders as missiles, waging war on Zeus and the other Greek gods in the epic battle. But the giants were ultimately defeated and buried under mountains, where they were tormented. Shivers were said to have caused earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Ew.
I know all of that because I read the Percy Jackson books.
I was like, Logan's going to know all this. So, like, the tormented shivers.
Monsters.
That's kind of crazy. I never considered that. The tormented shivers were just earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. That was, like, the giants.
Ooh.
That's kind of freaky because they're buried under the mountains. I kind of love that.
The story of Kronos is so messed up. Like, imagine, like, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Hearing that his body got chopped up into little pieces and put into, like, a little, chest and like locked away so he couldn't be put back together.
That's messed up. That's messed up. 10. Did you watch, this is kind of random but sort of on topic, did you watch that TikTok of that guy who said that one day he was in the library, his mom wasn't there, he was like with his sister, and like he's like likes to make people laugh, so he was sitting there and he had a loose tooth, one of his back molars was loose, and he realized he could push the molar down and then he could take out his tooth. And the thing is, he was like, I wonder if I did that to all my back teeth, if they would all come out. So this kid in this library at like age 8 or 10 starts pushing down on all of his teeth and spits them out in his mouth. He knocked 10 of his teeth out in his mouth. And he was like, oh my God, it'd be so funny if I went up to the librarian and just like spit my teeth in my hand.
That's so mean.
This kid walks up to the librarian and like goes, like, does something and then spits all 10 teeth into his out of his mouth into his hand, and all his blood pours out, and the librarian starts freaking out, and then the kid started crying. And apparently that's when the kid realized that he could use comedy for like bad. And he didn't know, but like it reminded me of like the chaotic stuff you would watch and like something you would do as a kid because it's unhinged, and you were like, what, it would be kind of funny if I
literally no, I didn't see that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll just find the video and send it to you because I was like, that kid's sick.
I admire
just like
him.
Logan. I know you pull that too. I know you would do it now probably if you could. So random, but it reminded me of you.
I'll pop out like my fake tooth and like
you go hee hee. What if I just tee hee like Tana? Have you? She be pulling that. That thing keeps falling out. It's ick. It's sick.
Could we? I think I'm comfortable enough to talk about this on the podcast now because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one time we had to cut an episode?
Yeah.
Y'all,
I remember.
I had a temporary tooth in while I was waiting for my crowns to come in, and I forget what episode it was.
Yes.
But I laughed too hard, and my tooth fell out.
It came out. It was so sad because then we were like freaking out because we couldn't find it at first.
Yeah, we couldn't find it, and we were like paused for like 15 minutes to like look for it.
I would love to find that episode to see what the demeanor was after the fact, just to see if we changed demeanor from our cut.
I think we like whenever we cut,
and
then come back. I think for like a minute. It's like a little, and then we're back at it, but I feel like you could tell. It was just like,
You're distraught.
I definitely did not, and I'm like
You're
doing
like, I'm
this,
never going to laugh again.
Popping it back in.
Oh, I remember the dog.
Oh my God, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Now your teeth are thriving.
And they're beautiful.
Easy breezy, beautiful, Logan. So, moving on. Seeing is believing. So the people of Tingis, or modern day Tangier, Morocco, once boasted that their city's founder was a giant named Anatius. Is that how you say that? Anatius?
Yeah, I think you're
Antius,
right.
who was buried in a mound south of town. To test the claim, Roman soldiers dug into the mound in 81 BC. Much to their surprise, an enormous skeleton surfaced, which they then reburied with great honors. Modern scientists confirm that the ancient elephant fossils are common in the area. So...
That's cool.
So they're saying they're seeing a lot of these, like, elephant fossils buried there, but a lot of these people in the past believed that they were giants.
Yeah.
So...
That's crazy.
People
oh my God.
around keep saying, hey, that's a giant, and they're like, ah.
Imagine finding, like, a graveyard full of all of them and thinking it's a graveyard for giants.
Yeah.
Especially with supernatural stuff or, like, the superstitions, even back then, girl, I wouldn't even go back.
No, I'd be like, okay, never mind.
The ghost of a giant haunting me?
Stop. That'd be
It's
so
you.
scary. It's the BFG.
It's the BFG coming to get you.
I think we talked about it. You haven't seen the BFG yet.
No.
Watch it or read it. One of the two. Cute. So, giants have been found all throughout history, throughout many legends and stories from all over the globe. Of all of these tall tales, one series of stories sticks out to me as especially frightening. Ooh. So, this is the one. Did I tell you about this? This is the craziest story I've heard about this before.
Really?
I think I was telling Benjamin a little about it too, because it's like, I can't believe this is the one that I'm like so surprised I did not find anything when I initially Googled giants.
And then it like came up and you're like, what?
It's crazy. It's modern day.
Ooh, is this the 2023 one?
No, that'll be later.
Ooh, there's more.
That one's not as crazy as this one. This one's the craziest series of stories.
That's crazy.
So this is called the Giants of Kandahar. So, giants of Afghanistan, so it's in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Are known as creatures from times past and parts unknown who were perpetually spotted outside U.S. garrisons or military headquarters. So spotted outside of military headquarters once upon a time. So encounters with these beings, which some outlets claim to have occurred during service member deployments to Afghanistan, were recently recapped on the Havoc Journal blog, a website dedicated to veterans news and issues. The accounts below originally appeared on Tales from the Grid Square, a collective of military encounters with the supernatural penned by author Nick Orton.
What?
So
this is like a real...
This is official.
Ooh.
Which is... After you hear all this, you're going to be like, wow. Like, what the heck? It freaked me out.
What a cool book series idea, though. Like,
I know.
Taking from, like
people who are deployed.
Yeah.
Because
like
they probably got some
stories?
crazy stuff going on.
That's
a collection
insane.
of supernatural things.
Oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
I know.
Oh.
And that's when this whole series, it gets really freaky. So, during the war, many members of the U.S. military and coalition would encounter activity that would defy normality. Orton wrote on Havoc Journal. UFOs, cryptids, and ghosts, many bore witness to the immense and immeasurable mystery of Afghanistan. What they witnessed is often kept close to the heart, be it terrifying or truly something incredible. So that was a quote from that book. Ooh. So chief among those terrifying encounters was an incident in 2002. So I know that's not super recent, but like within the 2000s is kind of crazy. So
yeah,
hold on to the ride. So this is with Giant of Kandahar, or biblical cryptid, a creature that special forces stumbled upon as the giant was doing giant things like cooking giant food and minding his giant business. So according to online accounts, the Giant of Kandahar, who was said to be responsible for an entire patrol going missing, stood a towering 13 feet tall. It sported a shock of flaming red hair, had 6 fingers on each hand, and 2 rows of teeth for gnashing, thrashing, and showcasing a smile that was undeniably frightening.
2 rows of teeth, so like bop, 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 bop?
Yeah, like, yeah.
So like a back line too or something?
Like shark vibes. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Girl, I'd run.
Disgusting.
Why is this just Attack on Titan?
It literally is, though. Maybe I've never seen it, but I'll agree with you.
It's an anime about a bunch of people who have to kill giants, basically.
Hey! Okay,
that's crazy.
Maybe I'll watch it now that you told me. Okay. So upon contact, the giant killed one U.S. service member with a spear. So, like, someone died. Someone was killed. It was reported someone was killed by a giant.
What, in this book? Like, they talked about it?
Yeah. Someone said a giant killed one of the U.S. service members with a spear.
Ew.
So, like, can you imagine, like, the U.S. military being like, yeah, I was killed by a giant?
Yeah, what?
Pardon me?
See, that's the thing that's crazy about most of this stuff when we do the show. It sounds, like, so fake sometimes. Like, especially when we did that one that was, like, where the government deemed somebody dead by, like, paranormal activity.
Yeah,
it's like, why is that on official documentation?
It's like, how did they get that?
That's crazy.
Like, that's so official. Like, they're basically saying it's real, right? Like,
it's just, like, it's crazy that there's, like, official documents that say things like that.
So
that's
the fact
wild.
That this official thing said this U.S. service member was killed by a giant with a spear, only to be vanquished by the rest of the unit, courtesy of, quote, 30 seconds of sustained gunfire.
Oh my
so does
God.
that mean, like, this thing, it left those people alone because it had, like, a steady line of gunfire for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
This thing was like, oh, okay, 30 seconds, I'm gone. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So, as the story goes, the soldiers loaded the giant's corpse onto a helicopter. Okay, so they killed this thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, they definitely killed that guy.
So, they killed the giant and loaded its corpse onto a giant helicopter. Well, they didn't say giant helicopter. I added the giant part. Because I was like, it had to be pretty big to hold a giant, am I right?
I mean, you're right. I'm just, like, thinking, like,
they have
it's
a specific...
for giants, yeah.
A helicopter for... It has a sign on it. Helicopters for giants! Oh, so inclusive, so cute. Love that for them. So, they loaded this giant's corpse onto the helicopter. It was never seen again. Conspiracy theorists promote the story, prompted the fact-checking outlet Snopes to investigate in 2016. So they were like, can we fact-check this whole story in 2016?
Yeah, Snopes always gets on the job.
Snopes, what's up? So, Snopes, what's up? I'm so funny. So, to the surprise of none, bewildered Pentagon officials told Snopes they had no records of such an incident. So, the Pentagon is like, nope, nothing's going on.
That didn't happen, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, no, nothing happened. So, predictably, proud wearers of the world's largest tinfoil hats responded along the lines of, that's exactly what someone hiding a 13-foot tall body would say. So, they're like, the Pentagon would say that.
I mean...
Why would they tell the truth?
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just...
What else would they say? They wouldn't say, yes, there's this huge threat.
We talk about it
exist.
a lot, but it's like the same way the CIA declassified like information like about UFOs and stuff like that. So it's just like, why would they tell Snopes that it was true?
Yeah.
For everyone on the internet to go find, I guess.
Plus, like, I feel like everyone would see that as a threat, and that'd be a hot issue.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly like the movie The Iron Giant. Like, you saw what the military did to that guy, that poor baby giant man. Like, oh.
I mean, even if, like, to play, like, devil's advocate, I guess, even if, like, it's, like, this story is, like, made up or something, like, is there still a chance that there was someone who was extremely tall that, like, had this happen? Or, like, just, you know what I mean? It's just, like, there's other ways that this could have happened, too, and I could see them researching stuff about it.
Yeah, it's just the fact that, like, they're recorded as 13 feet tall. Like, it wasn't, like, a casual, like, oh, they were 7 or 8 feet. Like, that's a big jump in difference of height. And it's also the fact that, like, they recorded one person of being dead, and their entire military troop all saying, yes, we shot at this thing for 30 seconds straight and then loaded its body onto a like helicopter.
Especially if it's a book like about like confessionals from like people who were there.
Yeah, like that's a kind of a crazy thing.
It's still like very weird that even if like these people were so hysterical or something that they just started like lying or seeing things that weren't there, even if that were the case, it's still crazy to have as like a confession. I don't know. That's wild. That's so weird. Yeah. They're probably researching on that guy.
They are. So nevertheless, the supernatural tale achieved a big mainstream attention when it was featured on the Coast to Coast AM radio show. So there are many accounts of soldiers who have reported seeing massive humanoids that tower over the normal men in Afghanistan, said Orton. So these stories are out there, but hard to come by. Not many of these are going to come forward and claim they saw a massive man running around in the mountains of Afghanistan.
I mean, yeah.
So perhaps there is something truly massive out there. So going on from that, they say giants in the mountains. So in his post, Orton shared several other gigantic tales he allegedly collected from military members. They include the giant of Kunar, and that was a massive being an infantry team leader reported saw during a deployment between 2008 and 2009. So while overlooking a village one fateful night, the soldier peered through his newly mounted thermal scope. As he spanned the valley, he came across a very large heat signature he assumed was a group of fighters huddled together around a light high up in the mountains. I know, but all of a sudden, the heat signature stood up as one being. So imagine looking down and being like, okay, there's a group of people down there.
That's a no for me.
And you see all these people are on the ground. Actually, they've grown and now they're one whole being.
I'd leave.
I'd be like, okay, I can't be in this job anymore.
I don't know what I would do next, but I would leave. I would just leave the scene.
Yeah, be like, okay, I don't need to look at a thermal scope anymore. So this soldier recalled in Orton's post and said the trees in that area grew up to about 10 to 12 feet tall, and this thing was at least as tall, if not taller, than the trees that surrounded it.
Ew.
So there's not even a way for you to be like, okay, like, maybe he just, like, saw it wrong, and, like...
Yeah.
It's the fact that this thing was like this and started growing taller than trees. Like, a heat signature does not go like that.
That's like the last thing you see before you die or something.
No.
That's just like terrifying.
That seems like a scary, scary movie.
Ew, that feels like this is such a throwback for us. No, like for the Mystery Files. Yeah. What is it called? The episode with the like bird creature that can change itself before like it kills you and stuff.
Oh,
it was so long ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't think of the name of it.
It was like Turkish or something. It was like a Turkish thing.
I can't think of the name of it.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
We'll have to look it up.
We'll have to look it up.
But, like,
I can't recall.
It reminds me of that a little bit. Like, the whole, like, idea of, like, it taking a certain form before it kills you.
That's so scary. I'm thinking of Slow-Op, but that's not the right thing.
Yeah.
I can't think of what the heck it was called.
Yeah, it was something similar to that. It's so weird.
We'll have to look at... Ew. I hate that. Ooh. Well, this thing, it was recorded... And the giant's stride was, quote, slow and relaxed, yet it moved with incredible speed. So, like, it looked like it was moving slow, but it was moving fast because this thing is ginormous. It's taking up space.
Yeah.
So the soldier added, noting the giant's chill yet purposeful vibe, it walked parallel to the soldier's position for a time before disappearing along a nearby spur. So, like, basically saying it was standing up, not, like, flat against the ground.
Silly question.
Yeah.
What's a spur? Do you know?
Along a nearby spur. I think that's like a group of trees.
That's what I was assuming.
What is
but I wasn't sure.
Spur?
Like, is it a mountainside? Like, what are we working with here?
A lateral ridge or tongue of land descending from a hill, mountain, or crest of a ridge.
Oh, he ran into the cave.
Yeah, also be defined as another hill or mountain range,
okay,
which projects in a lateral direction from main hill or mountain range. I don't know. Mountain range vibes.
The more you know.
The more you know. We'll be learning about
vocabulary.
Spurs every day. Spur. The more you know.
Spur.
I put the definition. Noun. Verb. I don't know what it is. So stories of the encounter were not shared with many. The soldier reportedly said, but memories of what he had seen came flooding back after listening to the coast-to-coast dispatch. He said, I think that's what I saw, a member of an ancient race of giants that descended from fallen angels, he wrote. Or it could be something like Sasquatch. I'm not sure. So this guy, like, had this crazy theory.
This guy's
of, like,
awesome.
It's a fallen angel, maybe a Sasquatch. I don't really know. I'm just a guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's good. He's chill. I like him. So Orton also included the story of an anonymous Air Force drone operator who was working in the northern part of Afghanistan during the war. Said, scanning around, doing my thing, and looking for stuff, he recalled. One day, the drone operator spotted 3 giants, each standing roughly 12 feet tall. There's a ruler tool that tells you how wide your crosshair is, and the people were as tall as the crosshair was wide, the operator said. This was all in mid-wave infrared at night, so they showed up as black humanoid heat signatures. I know.
These giant...
They're so scary.
Heat signatures is crazy. Stop heat signaturing people.
They're freaky.
They'll come and find you.
So for 10 minutes, the operator observed them, during which time he reported the giants tended their fire and performed other chores. You know, giant stuff is what he said. So the only interesting thing was the size, the operator wrote. The goats looked like cats next to them. So there were little goats in this area, and they were beside the giants, and they looked like cats in comparison to how big these giants were. I know.
What if giants keep goats as, like, pets? Like little kitties?
Little lonely goat herd. Yole-yole-hee-hoo, right?
They're like, bah.
Bah.
Wait, that's
Those are alive.
Or a goat. Goats do that too, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking of The Sound of Music. Because lonely goat herd, yole-yole-yole-hee-hoo. You know what I'm saying? That's all I know. I don't know what a goat does. Maybe that. So another airman recalled doing a pre-op soak northeast of the Korangal Valley, where he scanned and analyzed real-time video feeds. According to his elaborate account, the airman watched some dudes around a fire to see if he could identify any weapons. After about 20 minutes, what we thought were two dudes huddled together under a blanket stood up, the airman wrote. Ew. This guy,
keeps happening.
I know, this guy made the rest of the dudes look like children in terms of height. He stood up and walked over to a mud hut that he had to bend way over to get into.
Ew.
So continuing, like, the giant men at work. So it seems like these giants are just, like, doing everyday things, but they're giants, which is kind of cute.
Yeah,
like,
they're
I'm
just,
not
like,
too
minding
scared
their
yet.
business.
Yeah, so, like, some people are saying, like, they're seeing these really scary, ferocious things, but I kind of love just, like, seeing them just vibe, do their giant things.
Ooh.
So finally, an Australian army officer who was on sentry duty in the country's Urzgen, I think is how you say that, Urzgen?
Yeah.
Urzgen province, recalled spotting a giant going for a leisurely stroll around a nearby compound. It was lanky and wore unusual clothing, he said.
What's unusual clothing for a giant?
I think the giant's the unusual thing.
Is it like... Now I'm just wondering, because is it like Renaissance clothing? Like, are they like in like, you know how like in a storybook they have like tattered, like just tattered clothes on?
Yeah.
Or is it like, is he wearing like a Van Halen shirt? Like what are we talking about here?
They have like a huge Van Halen shirt for this
Skinny
guy.
jeans.
They make like a custom size for the giants. Van Halen has a personal team to make
Doc Martens.
Doc Martens. Ew. That's why they're stomping. That's why they're thumping all around up there.
I just like, what?
They got their docs on. They love them.
What is
unusual?
What's
it's unusual that they're a giant
to wear?
What are they wearing? Nothing?
That's so funny.
I feel like, I guess I pictured them not naked.
Yeah.
But like, what are they wearing?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of gross.
I don't think they're naked, but
maybe they're just like covered, like how you would see in David and Goliath.
Do they wear overalls like minions? Like,
it's kind of cute. Let's go with that.
Okay, let's go with that.
That's so unusual of them. Tee-hee. So by lasing the compound, the officer estimated the giant to be around 1,800 meters away. It wasn't in any hurry, and I followed it for about 5 minutes before it went out of my field of vision, the officer recalled, adding that he suspected the giant to be about 12 feet tall or 14 feet tall. So it just looked like it was walking, he wrote in Ordnance Post. Wasn't in a hurry at all, but was aware of what was happening around it. Kept looking around, especially near the compounds. I don't know of anyone else who saw anything like it. Never told anyone about it before, but it stayed with me after all these years, he said. So sometimes, as they say, there is more than meets the eye. Unless, of course, what is meeting the eye is a giant. So that's kind of the whole collection of those stories from the military.
I love those. But
I feel like they're so realistic. Like,
yeah,
I just
weird.
feel like there's something more real about them because they are told from... Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this before. If there's, like, people in these, like, high authority positions, there's something about their stories that, like, make me believe them more because they're super duper official. I don't know.
It's just, like, weird. Like, I think it's very... I didn't even know, like, a book like that existed out there or something. Just, like, a bunch of tales from, like, people who, like, were working there.
Yeah.
I can't get over that. That's so weird.
I just feel like it's interesting that it's so specific. Like, I never considered, like, that the people in, like, military bases would have experiences like this, especially with them all being, like, mostly focused in Afghanistan. I'm like, what's going on over there that they, like, the giants have been going there? But
or just, like, is that, like, a native land or something like that? It's just, like, it's very interesting.
It's interesting.
Like, even, again, like, back to the thing I said in the first story, it's like, even if none of them were true or something like that, if none of them were true, it's still like weird for people to have like this experience, because there must be some type of like hysteria or like brain thing that's making you think like you're seeing giant things that are happening to you. It's just like it's weird. It's a weird coincidence.
And I just feel like the people, weird thread. I feel like it's just weird that they're seeing them on thermal cameras. Like that's so specific. Like I feel like I always think back to the ghost hunters who like rarely ever see anything on thermals, and I feel like those are so true to what could be there, because thermal stuff is not just like casual. There has to be something that is creating that heat source to create crazy. Like a living thing right there.
Yeah, because you can easily play like, oh, like this is a trick of my eye or something like that.
Yeah.
But this, like with a thermal thing, it's like, oh, that is a giant heat signature.
Like this fancy equipment is picking up something, that's kind of funk.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one, and we talked about that being mostly focused like in Afghanistan and places like that. But there has been more recent sightings that have been in places like the U.S.
Really?
So the next story, the most recent giant sighting, is going to be from 2023.
Yeah!
So this takes place, or was released at least, on November 13th of 2023. So
that's terrifying.
Fairly recently. So this takes place in Portland, Oregon. So a former Sweet Home City Council member has gone viral after posting a video to TikTok claiming that he spotted a mythical giant in the Cascade foothills of Lynn County on October 23rd. So in the video, Sweet Home resident James Goebel said that he was traveling along Courtsville Drive near the Green Peter Reservoir when he saw a distinct rock formation open like a door.
Open like a door?
He saw... That's a good... Open like a door. So...
Open like a door?
It sounds like a song. Was that a song?
Love is an open door?
No. I'll think of it later. But...
I'ma leave the door open.
I'ma leave the door open.
Is that one?
No.
Oh. Well, I got nothing.
Leave your love open like I'm a door? What song is that? Well, I'll find it later.
That's a song.
I'll find it later so I know it exists. It is. It is a song. Someone out there tell me it is real. But this guy... It is! Oh my god. I'm telling you. We'll find it later. But this guy was looking at the rock formation and it opened like a door. So peeking from behind the door was a giant. The former government official, this man was official, government man, said all of this. So the mountain door allegedly closed back up before he filmed the video about the sighting. And this video received more than 5 million views before he took the video down. He took it down. I'm like, why, my guy? Make your money off of it at least.
Yeah.
So it looked like somebody was staring out of it, he said in the video.
Ew.
And he said, dude, giants are freaking real. I don't care what anybody says.
That's enough for me.
That's enough for me. This man saw the little rocks opening up. That freaks me out.
Yeah, that's it.
He went, oop, I see someone. So Goebel's sighting occurred east of Whitcomb Creek County Park. So Lynn County spokesman, so this did take place in that Oregon. Yeah.
Of course.
So Lynn County spokesman Alex Paul told the news source that Whitcomb Creek County Park is closed and gates of the reservoir have been drained for the season. So they're like really trying to make sure no one goes in there, which I think is a little suspicious.
Yeah.
That they were like, okay, we gotta gate up the reservoir and drain it for the season. Now this guy has seen this stuff here.
Drain the lake.
Drain the lakes. So, however, Courtsville Drive, the stretch of roadway where the rock formation is located, remains open to the public. So that's still open. So some on TikTok have taken an interest in the local mountainside in hopes of finding the giant mentioned in this post.
Really?
So, however, Paul said that the county doesn't want people exploring the campgrounds during the off-season. And I guess they said, we do not support folks going in there, and the U.S. Army engineers and all of those people do not want folks in there due to the water level drawn down at Green Peter Reservoir, Paul said. So they're saying like they think it's dangerous because of the water level there.
Yeah, you could drown, you could slip, something
So
could
I sort of
happen.
get it because it's safety. But
Yeah.
like,
Unless
it's giants. So the power of social media is wide, and I never thought this would go so far, he had said, Goebel said. I posted things in the past, but I only had 60 people following me, so when I heard and thought I saw something, I did a video for my friends to see what I was seeing. Goebel has made repeated trips back to the rock formation to film follow-up videos about the sighting, and led groups of thrill seekers to the area. So this guy is like, really believes in, is hyping up to people like in his town and being like, okay guys, like come and look at this because I swear I saw something. So while no additional giant sightings have occurred, Goebel maintains that the sighting was real. It is amazing how many people are adventuring out to see this, he said. They all need to be careful, though. I know. So they all need to be careful and leave no trace of garbage around. I truly hope someone gets as lucky as I did and changes their lives forever.
Ew.
So that's kind of where this guy's story ends. But the fact that, like, this guy actively in 2023 was like, I definitely saw something, is kind of crazy. Because you don't really hear it in the mainstream news or anything like that of people seeing giants and it being, like, taken seriously.
Well, that's the thing. Everything on TikTok gets so crazy because it's like you don't know what to believe. And then there's stuff that's, like, really true. Like, when we were talking about the pirate stuff earlier. Yeah. Like, it's just, like, that's crazy to me. This is, like, so out there, but from like a fantasy element, it makes me wonder, what if there's like a whole other dimension of like giants and stuff, and that's like a portal? Wait, were you thinking that?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Stop.
But
okay,
you're on the money for some things. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. So post that, we're going to get into some theories or just like ideas about giants for a little bit, just so we can have a good understanding.
Okay.
So the giant skeletons, we're going back to the bare bones.
Bare bones.
Haha, teehee. So if there were giants, where are the skeletons, you ask? They were found all over the world, from the U.S. to Romania and China. There just doesn't seem to be any discoveries in recent years, and the old bones from past excavations have mysteriously disappeared. So some of these bones are just disappearing for whatever reason. There is very credible documented evidence the giant skeletons were found across America in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
In New England, skeletons unearthed in ancient burial mounds were measured at between 7 feet and 10 feet tall. Well-respected newspapers reported these findings at the time, which points to the credibility of their source. Yeah. In fact, there are several documented findings of giant skeletons from all over America in the past, with most reports coming from the turn of the 19th century. There's also evidence that the bones of giants measuring over 2 meters in height were found in tombs across Sardinia.
Oh.
So the fact that they're tombs, like, that's like...
Yeah.
Those tombs are usually human beings.
That's back to the graveyard thing I was talking about before.
So this was covered in an episode of TV's Forbidden History called The Mysteries of the Giants.
Ooh.
Was this just a fanciful thinking by the esteemed scientists at the time, or did they know how to take simple measurements back then? Or were they just having a laugh? So, after that, giant humanoid bones have been found in other countries. In Romania, for an example, there are numerous reports of ginormous human being remains being unearthed as recently as the 1970s. So they're seeing giant human-like remains in the 1970s.
In Romania?
Yes, in Romania.
That's crazy.
So including those reported up to a neck craning 16 feet in height. So 16 feet bones of human-like figures is kind of crazy. So some of those measured had leg bones, which were 6 feet in length alone. Ooh, so they're finding humanoid leg bones.
That's just 6 feet by itself.
6 feet in length alone.
That's taller than me. That's crazy.
Taller than you.
That's very much taller than you, too. That's crazy.
That's way taller than me.
Like, so much taller than you. Like, embarrassing.
I wouldn't say, like, so much taller. Like, no. I mean...
Like, so embarrassingly taller
I think
than
you should be embarrassed. I think we're all embarrassed.
I think we all can be embarrassed about our height.
Yeah. So even now, thousands of years later, modern thinkers, engineers, and scientists cannot come up with a definitive answer as to how ancient men were able to build some of the most jaw-dropping megalithic sites around the world. So this is getting into those like sites where they're finding these bones. So in Peru, a site called Sacsayhuaman displays mind-blowing skills and strength. Its huge stones, weighing up to 200 tons each, have been used to build the wall of a fortress. But if their weight alone was not impressive enough, these stones have been cut, shaped, and fitted together with such precision to appear almost like a ginormous stone jigsaw.
Oh.
So you're starting to see what we're talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So we can imagine for everyone that has stood in front of it, it's this vast structure and marveled at its size and skill. It wouldn't be hard to imagine that it was a race of super strength giants behind it. Because how else are they carrying these huge stones to create this crazy structure?
That's crazy.
Yes. So these sites around the world are numerous, from the more familiar Great Pyramid of Egypt, which we have all talked about before in the past. How were those things built? How were they built so perfect? They are huge. It's crazy. It's crazy. So things like
even like how they did do it is like crazy.
It still doesn't
like
make
the
sense
idea
to me.
of like them carrying all those giant oh my god.
The math ain't mathing, but I know they made it, but like what? It doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah, I was like, what?
Like, huh? So those like familiar great places, also Stonehenge and the Easter Island statues, to the lesser known sites of Pumapunka in Bolivia, which is bizarre H-shaped carved blocks weighing several tons each with precise interlocking features. So like all these crazy hyper specific things that like seem incapable even to us who have all of these things to create these now. They were doing this by hand. So it's like, how were they doing all of this?
That goes back to, I guess, like, you were telling me earlier when I was talking about the Greek stuff. Like, how are they so advanced to, like, do that stuff, too?
How were they advanced back then?
I mean, just, like, thinking about all the people that had to, like, build it, too. Like, I'm not surprised to think, like, maybe they had, like, giants helping them or something like that.
Or they were the ones that were doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
They were building all of these,
crazy.
like, beautiful things because they could carry it with ease and create all of these things with ease. So, the latter site predates the Incas, with some who have examined the stones dating them to as far back as 15,000 BC due to their astronomical alignments. So some really, really old things. So over at the ancient site of Baalbek in Lebanon, stone blocks used in the construction of the foundations of the Temple of Jupiter weigh up to 800 tons each. Baalbek has undergone various points of semi-destruction throughout history, being the site of various battles and rebuilding work by successive civilizations, including the Romans. But there is a very credible argument that the original megalithic parts of the site have its origins many thousands of years before civilization as we know even began. Which, ew, that's so freaky. So, is it possible that Baalbek goes way, way back to a forgotten time in Earth's history, between our current understanding of recorded history and the prehistory of the dinosaurs when giants ruled the Earth?
Oh!
So, they're thinking giants were here before the dinosaurs, or even...
Or some around
believe,
with them.
Yeah, some believe they cohabitated with them. So
that's crazy.
I know. So these are just some of the many sites around the world that displayed almost impossible feats of human engineering, which some attribute to the intervention of giants.
That's so cool.
So it then goes up to a cover-up. A conspiracy theory around the subject of the lost race of giants points to a speculation that the bones of these skeletons always mysteriously disappeared once official organizations got involved, which would make a lot of sense when we then go back to all of those military sites who saw all this stuff and people being like, cover that up, like, it didn't happen.
Well, that goes back to the, we've talked about it before when we've done any alien thing before, but that goes back to like the Kecksburg stuff.
Yeah.
Like how like there were so many people that saw the crash landing happen think that they like saw like things being taken away from there, like literal debris being taken away, and they were all made to feel like that's crazy. No, like that didn't happen there.
There's being gaslit, like
when there was like multiple sightings and like people there, it's just like it's crazy.
It's like people have clearly seen it, and you're just covering
that's
up.
Wild.
Like, and I guess there's some reports suggesting that during the 19th century, the Smithsonian Museum in America was very keen to purchase the bones of giants found by civilians, only for them to never see the light again. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So the Smithsonian is like buying these bones of giants that civilians claimed they found, and then no one ever sees these bones again. So these people that have been like, here's Smithsonian, here's some giant bones I found.
That's why like I want to go into like the Smithsonian after hours. Please, I'm not gonna actually do it. Please don't arrest me.
Yeah, don't.
But that would be so fun, you know, like trying to go in like the archives and like the like down there, like in the basement. Oh,
I wish I would have known this when I went to Smithsonian like a couple weeks ago.
We'll go again.
We'll
investigate.
I mean, now I am scared because it gave me COVID. DC gave me COVID.
DC gave you COVID? That's what happened?
And it probably was Smithsonian because it was packed to the brim.
Well, you should have known DC is CD backwards, and the first letter of COVID is C, and the last letter is D.
What? You're crazy like that. Oh my gosh. I think you were literally on to something. Benjamin's dad, literally, while we were in the Smithsonian, was like, it's going to be a miracle if we walk out of here without COVID.
Well, it's his fault.
He walked out without COVID. Benjamin and I didn't.
It's his fault then.
But I think, honestly, Benjamin was the one that got COVID because he didn't wash his hands when we were in the Spy Museum. And he ate one of my Spy Mints. I got a little thing of Spy Mints from the Spy Museum. And he ate a mint without washing his hands.
Oh.
And he got COVID first. So I'd like to thank him for giving me COVID. Maybe it wasn't the Smithsonian. It was Benjamin at the Spy Museum.
It's the conspiracy.
It's Benjamin at the Spy Museum. It's like Clue. But yeah. So kind of shady the Smithsonian is getting these bones and being like, what? They don't exist after like buying them from people who said they were giant bones. So there's a similar story in Sardinia with farmers in more modern times uncovering massive bones and teeth and hand them over to authorities only to like hear nothing about them again. So like they're like, here's bones and teeth I found, people, and they go,
thank you.
Doesn't exist. Our bad.
And it's gone.
In Romania, a site where several giant human bones were found, they were called by the Hyperborean Gallery, was later permanently sealed as authorities deemed the discovery too explosive and shocking. So, new discoveries rewriting in history of humankind. It was just a mere 8 years ago that scientists finally acknowledged a different race of humans known as the Denisovans, who existed alongside Neanderthals and modern humans. Mm-hmm. So the race of human found in the frozen caves of Siberia was not thought to be massive in stature, but had huge teeth. All that had been found of the Denisovans is a tiny pea-sized fragment of the finger bone and 2 teeth. Ooh. Yet it has been enough to give scientists a shred of DNA to finally say with certainty that there was a previously unknown race of human. And just 3 years ago, scientists announced yet another new human species, Homo naledi, tiny-brained people with ape-like shoulders who lived in South Africa. So finding new species of humanoids is not unheard of, and perhaps it is just a matter of time until someone finds a piece of a big bone or massive molar that modern science cannot ignore.
Honestly?
So maybe they either haven't tested these bones they received, or there hasn't been a specific bone with enough, to get DNA pulled from it. I wonder if that's the issue.
I mean, it could also be like they're keeping it classified too.
Yeah, like they know and they're not saying diddly squat.
Yeah.
So
it's like, what would it mean if like, goes back to the tinfoil hat thing. Like, what would it mean if we knew that there were giants? Like, what would that mean for us?
Well, also, what if maybe they're not telling us because they still exist? Because if people have made these claims as recent as 2023 or back to 2012, back to 2002, they could still exist in like small quantities across the globe. Yeah. And they don't want us to know about it. Like that could be one of the options.
Yeah.
So
it could like hurt them.
It could hurt them. It could hurt us.
That's like crazy.
Like, there's all these different things. Yeah. So I guess we're going to lead into the conclusion here, but I kind of am curious as to what your take on this is. Like, do you believe in giants? Do you believe there were giants? Are currently giants? What's your vibe?
I think like the strongest one I think like we've heard is like, I love the idea of the like there were giants before. Like I think I'm on a mixture of there were giants and there could be like what you said, like maybe like a small mixture of like those types of humans being somewhere, just because like that's just so wild to me, because especially like you said about how we've been finding new types of humanoids lately, like we still don't know like everything. So I think that's really interesting to think about, like that's a possibility, especially with finding bones that are like 6 feet in not diameter, the inches in size. In size. That's crazy to me. And I just like the idea of like maybe some are still around too, like hiding or living in civilizations like by themselves or like doing stuff like that, you know? I think that's really interesting.
Ooh, do you have like a favorite story? Like which ones did you like the most?
Honestly, I liked the first one of the series of like the military ones, like when they were there and then like it was like attacking them with like the spear and then there's now like literal official documentation that says that. Like that's crazy to me, you know?
I love it all.
That one is like I think my favorite because it's just so weird from beginning to end.
It seems
it's like,
real.
Wait, what?
I feel like it could be a movie or like a movie scene, like the Iron Giant, but like it's a giant that's not iron. Like I could see it
just
playing
the giant.
The giant. And also like the visuals of like them carrying this thing out in a helicopter is like so cinematic and so cool.
It's crazy.
I love it.
But what about for you?
I think for my take, I want to believe it. I don't know how much I believe it, but I want to believe it.
That's where I'm at too,
because I feel like it is very, very hard to believe, but also it would make sense because there are so many different cultures I did not include in this, but there is like a ginormous list.
Like just a big...
a huge list of people in like different countries all over the world that have had some sort of like folk tale, some sort of legend, stories from, like, years and years ago, like, all about giants. Ooh. And, like, from way, way back. So I'm, like, I feel like it's one of those things that, like, how many people have talked about it for us to think it's real? We've talked about it about dragons. We've talked about it with, like, ghosts, aliens. Yeah. If there's so much documentation in different regards of it, especially seeing, like, 12 feet tall and, like, so many different things are correlating, it makes sense that, like, they could see it all around the world.
I feel like this is, like, a golden rule of the Mystery Files, but, like, there feels like there has to be, like, some ounce of truth. To something happening. Yeah. Especially with what you said with this, what we did before. Yeah. There has to be some ounce of truth somewhere that's made people have, like, these feelings or whatever. I just think it's so crazy to me. For it to be, like, how culturally significant it is. Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. For it to be such a common trope in all these different places across the world, like, dating back to, like, long, long ago, it has to be, some truth has to be rooted in it. Yeah. And I feel like I definitely had more belief in it when I started seeing those Afghanistan stories and, like those
from,
military...
Like, a literal document.
Yeah, and
like
also
confessions book, basically.
The confessions. I'm like, that's just kind of crazy. I feel like the government would hide something like that. And also, when I heard about the Smithsonian, like,
that one's crazy too.
Allegedly receiving bones like this, and just like,
and they just like disappear.
They disappeared. Like, people being like, okay, here, I've got giant bones, and them going, thank you so much. They don't exist. Like, I feel like they would gaslight
Wipe your
us.
memory.
They would. No, literally Men in Black, but giants. Yeah. Like, they would. So I feel like there's definitely some truth in it. I don't know how much. Well, maybe I do want to believe they're currently real. I think I could definitely see, like...
that's where I'm at.
Like, almost like Stranger Things vibes. Like, the government knows some of these things exist, and, like, they have them locked away, like, underground, or they have them, like, tied down somewhere in some caves, and, like, they're hidden from society. Like, I feel like there could be this whole thing. And I know I'm definitely sounding like one of those tinfoil people, but like...
Yeah, but like the giants are just such a fun, like, idea,
it's
like,
fun
fantasy.
To, like, go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's like one of the more fun things to, like, be able to, like, really...
and like I know I go down these like crazy rabbit holes, and it's not me saying I definitely believe it, but I could definitely picture some truth in it, and I feel like if anything it'd be definitely a great story or a movie. So I'll say I believe, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you're a giant and you're listening to this right
come
now,
on the show.
Give us a like or let us know and come on the show.
We'll go in the woods and have a show together. You can't fit in my apartment, sorry, but like
wow.
They can. Look like I got 13-foot ceilings up in here. No, I don't. I mean my little sleep paralysis man fits, so...
Well, there you go.
My Hagrid-looking man. Oh, maybe he can stay out. He can stay out.
He is not welcome.
You're not welcome here. He cannot stay. It's time for the conclusion. In conclusion, the existence of giants may hold true to those who were destined to see it with their own eyes. For the rest of the unlucky ones out here, the truth of the existence of these larger-than-life creatures will forever remain a mystery. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you. We've missed you.
We've missed you too. This was so fun. I've missed doing this.
I missed it. This was so happy. Fun. And I'm glad we got to kick it off with such a silly, crazy one.
Such a fun one.
Yes.
And we'll be back for my case.
Your case.
Make sure to follow us at the Mystery Files _ on the TikTok at the Mystery Files Podcast. Yes. Please review us as well. 5 stars. It really helps. Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you next time. We love you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Fee, fi, fo, fum.